Let's go now to Mr. Richard Gage, who is on the program again. We talked to him a little while ago. He's in town. Did you get in, Mr. Gage?
Sure did, and I was met with quite a bunch of snow here.
Yeah, we're having an unusual winter even for here, but glad to hear you're in town. You're here to give a presentation about 9/11 called Rethink 9/11, and it's at the university tonight. Maybe we should give the particulars of exactly when and where it is.
Well, sure. We'll be meeting at 7 p.m. at Bruno Center, Building 13.
Righto, 13 on the campus map. And, of course, you know, a lot of people still have an enduring interest in 9/11. It's quite some time ago now, obviously. You've been busy for many years touring and giving your presentation, which I hear is very persuasive in getting people to think about it and ask some questions that, to your mind, have not really fully been answered, including the fact that there was a third building went down in a pretty much a free fall situation and not explained to your satisfaction. Why should people still be concerned about this and pursuing it for more answers now, 13 years later?
Well, we have two wars that were started as a result of 9/11. The loss of our civil liberties in the U.S. and in Canada. 158 Canadian soldiers have died until the extraction from Afghanistan last week, and 24 Canadians lost their lives in the towers. So if there's any question about what happened on 9/11, then we have to look at it. And believe me, there are tons of questions. There's evidence that we have not even seen in the mainstream media or that has been given by NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. I mean, we're talking about evidence of thermite incendiaries throughout the World Trade Center dust and underneath buildings 1 and 2, the Twin Towers, also underneath World Trade Center 7. Molten iron is the byproduct of thermite. Thermite is this incendiary used by the military to cut through steel like a hot knife through butter. There's hundreds of first responders that heard sounds of explosions at the onset of the destruction. None of this was in the official reports.
And it was a report that was contested, I think, by a couple of the people on the panel, I know. But, you know, is there any suspicion or expectation or suggestion of who would be behind such a nefarious act if it was intentional along the lines as you are outlining for us?
Well, we have all kinds of people in very high places that people who do 9/11 researchers have sort of targeted. It doesn't behoove us as architects and engineers to speculate on these. What we need is an investigation that actually looks at all of the evidence. For instance, the destruction of the North Tower. In the first 4 seconds, the upper 15 blocks of that tower has been completely destroyed, and so there's nothing left to drive the rest of the building down. But that's the official story. What happens is after that massive explosions hurling 4-ton structural steel sections in every direction, 600 feet away, and there's no stack of floors found at the bottom of either of these twin towers. I mean, we're talking football field-sized floors, 90,000 tons of concrete pulverized in midair to a fine particulate landing from river to river across lower Manhattan.
Now, I've done a bit of reading since we last spoke on the program here, and of course there are a lot of sites dedicated to discrediting the arguments that you put forward, and perhaps even trying to discredit you as a scientist and an individual, saying you're overzealous and you know your efforts go well beyond a rational kind of approach. How do you answer those critics?
Well, first of all, it's not me. It's 2,100 architects and engineers, building and technical professionals who have looked at the evidence, signed a petition, putting their reputation on stake, and by the way, millions of others in the 9/11 truth movement worldwide. This is very credible evidence that those who would prefer to call us names like conspiracy theorists and so on don't look at. They will not look at the evidence. They just go right to the judgment because, presumably, their worldview can't handle the truth of what we're talking about here. It's very difficult for all of us, anybody, to imagine that this could be some sort of an inside operation, which the evidence clearly leads to. And so that's why we ask, well, who could be responsible? You know, how do they get away with it? Well, we have some ideas about that, but until we actually look and find out why this third skyscraper, for instance, which most architects and engineers know nothing about, Building 7, drops in the afternoon of 9/11 straight down, uniformly, symmetrically, and as fast as a bowling ball falling off the side of the building in under 7 seconds. Until that's explained, I have no interest in speculating, or very publicly at least, about who might have been responsible and so forth.
Now, this is, I think, the last stop on your Canadian tour, if I'm not mistaken. How's it gone, and how do you think it, or has it gotten you any closer to initiating a further review?
Well, we certainly have gotten far. In fact, 45 Canadians have raised their hand, indicating a willingness to run for Parliament. In the 16 so far stops that we have, tonight being the last of 17, it's very exciting. They're running for Parliament, and we may be starting the Canadian 9/11 Truth Party, which people can read more about at rethink911.ca. It's very exciting. This will force the media across Canada to deal with the issue. Having 45 candidates on a 9/11 Truth Party is pretty powerful. We think it'll bring us a lot closer to a real investigation, because in the U.S., we can't get that kind of attention. We can't get our congressmen, senators, and our media, which is owned by just 6 corporations, almost all of our media.
Well, it may raise the profile of the whole issue, no doubt, to have candidates out there who are running primarily on that particular issue, but you probably don't expect any of these people to actually stand a fair shot at getting elected if that's what they're mainly talking about, do you?
Well, that's the main point is to get the microphone in front of their mouths from the media. We're not talking about winning in the short term, but as we raise awareness, Canadians will be very upset because the loss of Canadians is dear to the hearts of the people that I've been meeting across this great country. So I imagine that in time, I don't know how much time it takes. It's already been almost 13 years. Due time, in fact, as I've talked to about 40 Canadians who are not a part of the 9/11 Truth Movement in my travels here, I've found that most of them are actually aware that there's questions, at least, and most of those are in agreement already with the evidence because they looked at it in various videos and so forth. So that's very exciting. Most people are tuning in to the reality that 9/11 was not as we have been sold.
Okay. Well, it's probably something we're going to be talking about for many decades to come. It's one of those things that has so many angles and facets to it, and so much information to sift through. I remember seeing the mountains of paper that were brought before the investigators they're just after it happened. So it's huge and it's ongoing, and we wish you all the best with your presentation tonight. And again, it's at 7:00 at the Bruno, or Building 13, the Bruno Center there, the Building 13 on Munn campus, and all the best.
Thank you so much, P. We'll see you there.
Okay, take care.